back to Talking Dragon Age, the show where I talk about Dragon Age. I got a fun one for you today. So, in Here Lies the Abyss, we choose someone to distract the Nightmare Demon, and they probably die. Theories have been put forth saying that whoever was sent may not be dead. I think if the Warden was sent, that's it. But if Hawke was sent, something else happens. Some say Hawke might still be rescued. Because the laws of time in the Fade are different, Hawke might fall out of the Fade sometime in the future, like Ant-Man in the Quantum Realm. That's a cool idea as it is, and totally fitting with Hawke's story. But I have an even better idea. If you're familiar with DC Comics, you may be familiar with an entity called the Spectre. Spoiler alert for Crisis on Infinite Earths on the CW. After Oliver dies, he becomes the new Spectre, receiving a slew of new abilities. He's essentially transcended a physical form and becomes someone else. He's become something else. Sorry, couldn't resist. Anyway, he's still Oliver Queen, but he's also so much more. He's almost godlike at this point. What if Hawke was left in the Fade, something similar happened to him? How freaking awesome would that be? How amazing would it be to see our Hawke come back as an entity like the Spectre? Think kind of like Red Skull in Marvel, except with all his memories, not evil, and doing more than just guiding people to the Soul Stone. It could be like Divine Justinia in the Fade, but she wasn't in the Fade when she died. Whether this is a spirit taking on her form, her memories, a Fade ghost, whatever, it's different than what Hawke would be. I mean, they could say a spirit took on Hawke's form with all their memories too, but I personally would rather see Hawke be this trans-dimensional entity. Now, do I have any evidence to support this theory? No. So I'm not sure I would even call it a theory, more of an idea. But tell me Hawke coming back as the Dragon Age version of the Spectre wouldn't be badass. Now, I said this would only happen to Hawke and not the Warden. Why? Well, we could say it had to do with the Blight, or it may have to do with Hawke having been affected by all the crazy things that had happened. Being exposed to red lyrium, regular lyrium, rituals of all sorts, living in Kirkwall where the veil was thin for so long. Maybe all that magical energy affected him more than anyone realized. We could also say it had to do with Flemeth. Hawke had a destiny, and so she may have influenced this a little, or just knew it would happen. Again, I have no evidence to support any of this, but I loved this idea too much to not make a video about it. Now, let me make something clear. I am not saying I want Dragon Age to steal the idea from Crisis. All I mean is that Hawke may have become something more than human if he or she was left in the Fade. And the Spectre is just the closest analog I could use to describe such an entity, and admittedly is what sparked this idea. And I do think it would be perfectly fitting for Hawke's character. And we have never known of someone who died while physically in the Fade. Some have been killed while their spirits were there. The sidereal magisters were tainted and went back into the physical world. In the times before the Veil, people died while technically in both worlds. We have never known someone to die while physically and completely in the Fade. The effects of this kind of death has the potential to open up new avenues for the story, especially if I'm right in my theory that the Maker is the Fade. I talked about that in a video I recently did with Jackdaw and Saria, so check that out if you want to hear more about that theory. Now, I should say, if this ends up being true, I really want it to affect the story in a major way. So players who left Hawke get a significantly different part of the story than players who left the Warden. I think having either character take on this form would cheapen the choice. So if this does happen, let it just be Hawke, and let leaving the Warden have a consequence of its own. So that's it for now, guys. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to comment and like, and remember, Tala Nadas.